Welcome back. And today we're having a guest that I love so much. He's a close friend and we work together as well. We actually spoke to do this podcast for a long time, but then there were adventures in...
you could say it that way. You could certainly say that they were.
In Jared's side.
Yeah.
And someone mind that we keep postpone. Yeah. But finally, today we have it here, live, in person.
In the flesh.
Mr. Jarett, that is going to speak with me about, I think, what is today the most important topic of humans.
I think that's a fair characterization.
Is the sense of community and the community and all the problematic that we have with communities. Because you see, when humans decide not to live alone in the mountains, but together, then they build a community.
Right.
And so a community is the most important element of your life, of my life, of his life, of any human life. So today we're going to talk about this because it's a topic that we are very passionate about it.
For sure.
But first of all, why don't you do a little introduction of yourself?
No, of course.
You tell us, who you are, where you come from, and a little bit, whatever you have in mind.
First, I have to say thank you for having me.
Oh, please.
Of course, we have talked about it a lot, about getting together and having this conversation, because we certainly did speak a lot, very in depth when we were together, working together. But yeah, this is a topic that I'm really passionate about. I grew up here in Utah. My dad worked as a software engineer and was really serious about being involved in community systems, right? So I can very distinctly remember from a very young age, my dad instilled in me this desire to be connected to kind of community. We were always involved in that kind of stuff. So I grew up in a neighborhood that was full of other people who were trying to help each other out, and it became a really big part of what made me me, right? So grew up in Utah. I spent some time outside of the state serving a mission. A lot of people know what a mission is, but I went out to New Jersey and...
what is a mission?
A mission. So in the LDS Church, which I'm a part of, a mission is a service activity that young men and women are encouraged to go on, where we spend 2 years of our lives going out into the community and serving people.
Everywhere in the world.
Everywhere in the world. All over the world. Anywhere you can think of. What's hard for people to sometimes wrap their heads around is that there is the proselytization part of it, but there's also the service part of it. Every week, 2-3 times a week, 2-3 hours at a time, no matter the church, the religion, the background, we were doing service, no matter what, right? Because it was really more about trying to help our fellow human beings in their journey in life, right? And whether or not that was something they wanted to know about from a religious perspective, we could do that as well. But also we were giving them food. We were helping them clean up their yard. I can remember one lady had a series of violations of the city, and I was whacking down, a 2-acre lot with a little push mower. It was just nuts. So I served that mission, came home, went to college.
Where did you serve?
I went to New Jersey. New Jersey.
Very wild.
Very wild. It's
country, very far.
People don't think about New Jersey the way that I think they should.
I think I do.
Well, Jersey is nuts. Jersey is nuts. The story
is a very exotic place, guys, in the United States.
Very, very much so. So I think that what happens is most people outside of the United States, they think of New York City or LA, right? And when we go to New York City, we don't realize how expensive New York City is. And so we end up going to New Jersey. And so you get to meet people from all over the world. I would go there was this one area you'd go into, and there would be, 15 young men from Mumbai who had come to the United States for a job, and they were all living in one 2-bedroom apartment.
Wow.
Living on the floor, stuff like that. Or then you'd go into other places, and there'd be huge mansions. All right, so Jersey kind of had a little bit of both. Mm-hmm. It had people on the streets, unfortunately, stuck in the cycle of drug addiction and debt, and just feeling so sad and so trapped, which is so not the America that I believed that we had. To speak to the community element that we're going to talk about. But then you'd also have other people that, had these McMansions with 50 acres, and they didn't know their neighbors. Mm-hmm. No idea.
That's crazy.
Right? They had all the money and all the resources in the world. They wouldn't help anybody.
Yeah.
Right? So when I got back from my mission, missions in our religion have a tendency to kind of change people.
Absolutely.
And it certainly changed me, seeing kind of all of this, I don't want to call it failure, but just this decay that kind of is happening in our society. And I didn't want to be a part of that. I wanted to be a part of the solution. So I went off to college.
And I think that the mission also is very much related with the episode of today. I think that the idea that kids at this young age go in other countries, New Jersey, they can go in California, but they can go also to Africa,
middle
they
of
can
Latin
go
America,
Brazil,
Peru,
they can
Russia,
go to, yes,
the Baltic states.
And so what they actually do is they see other cultures, other communities, and they come back home. And what happened, what I had the feeling many times here in Utah, even in Provo, in Utah Valley, is that these kids that I meet, they have the open mind of accept other community, understand other culture and communities because they made that, mission somewhere for 2 years. They disconnected from parents and all the privilege that they may have to be in another community that is very, very different. So it's very related with today.
Right, and to speak to that, actually, you make a good point, which is, I'm sure that a lot of listeners may not understand exactly what it entails to decide to serve a mission. You in the time that I
disconnect with social media.
Yeah, you're not on social media. You're not on the internet. You don't have a cell phone. At least in my time, I should be clear. Now they've loosened up some of those rules.
A little bit, not completely.
Not completely. Yeah. I mean, so when I did it, I got to speak to my parents and my family 4 times in 2 years.
Wow.
For about an hour each. That was all I got to do. The rest of it was a letter or an email, right? They'd send a letter or an email back and forth every week. And there were plenty of times when my siblings or friends just got busy and they forgot to send a letter, and that meant we didn't get to hear from each other. I remember one friend of mine who was in Mexico. He didn't even have access to the internet. And so I actually had to handwrite him letters and mail it. And it had to go through the U.S. Postal Service to Mexico, through the Mexican Postal Service to him. And I think we sent like 4 letters back and forth during the full year or 2 that we were talking to each other.
Yeah, it's awesome. When a friend of mine, Bjorn, was in a mission, he used to send me emails with these pictures, and it was a different time. Even if it was today, I felt that was a different time, as a picture, and say, in this picture there is this and this. We are having fun doing this, and I'm like, wow, this is something unique. And
but you definitely touch on that, kind of the isolation of it, but also the isolation removes you from the systems that you think are important.
That's right. It's a reset, a mental reset as well, I can tell. And that is so healthy for you. So good, because especially at that age.
Yeah.
I think a mission guys should be obligatory to everybody in the world.
I don't
Seriously.
disagree. I mean, it doesn't
every kid, especially now that are so spoiled, so much inside the social media and the online stuff. Good. Everybody in the world at the age of 18, 19, 20, 21 go to another country, another culture, another community for 2 years, unplugging any social media, this is beautiful.
Beautiful. I mean, and I think that there's a tendency within outside of the church to think, okay, I got to go to another country. And I think that's great.
Right.
I didn't go to another country, but I was in another country. I think it's about getting out of your own mind.
Yes, absolutely.
And becoming a part of something bigger than yourself.
Oh, for sure.
And different than the world that you exist in.
Absolutely.
It's about experiencing something different.
Another community.
Right.
Exactly. Another community.
It's exactly what we're talking about.
1,000%. Right? Even from Utah to Texas is another community. Utah to California is another
different
community. So 1,000%. Yeah. And so please continue.
Yeah, no. So I was just going to say, I went to school up in Logan at Utah State University. Got a degree in marketing. Little biopic details. I've got 3 older siblings. My parents met here in the Valley at BYU. That's a very interesting story, actually.
Yes,
we've heard that one before.
Small documentary, yes.
Yeah, it seriously could be a small documentary. They didn't go on a date before they got engaged.
Oh, right. So let's tell this story. So they still are together and happy.
Yes, absolutely.
How did they meet?
Well, so my dad came back from his mission, where he actually was in rural Guatemala. Okay.
Guatemala.
Came back to El Paso, Texas.
Yeah.
And his grandfather had been a railroadman and had a pretty good pension from doing that since he was 16 or 12 or whatever. I remember my great-grandfather telling me that his first job was biting blasting caps onto dynamite sticks before they would go off. Like, I mean, that's the kind of world he was in. So he said, I have a feeling you need to go to school.
Which year was that?
That was probably 1979.
Can you guys imagine Utah, 1979 versus Guatemala?
Yeah.
1979. I think they cannot be
between,
more
it
different
one
places.
thing that people don't realize that was in between the Civil War that was happening in Guatemala.
That's insane.
So when my dad arrived in Guatemala, he said that the runway was had American Marines with M16s down both sides.
Guarding. Wow.
Because they had just kind of finished up with a little bit of the Civil War in Guatemala. And yeah, I mean, it was rough. I mean, he talked about monkeys and snakes and stealing bananas off the trees and a guy with a machete that was drunk chasing him down the street. You know, I mean,
yeah, the usual
stuff
of missionary.
Usual stuff that happens as a Christian missionary. But so his grandfather said, I have a feeling you need to go to school. Because my dad and his dad, you know, came from fairly poor backgrounds. He was a blue collar, was a carpenter for Texaco Oil. So he didn't make a lot of money. And he said, I'm going to give you my pension to go to school.
Wow.
Can you believe that? So my grandfather took it upon himself to send my dad to school. And halfway across the world, my mom, near the border in Idaho, in a little town called Brigham City, Utah, her dad, who was very much the old school girls don't get college degrees kind of type, said, I have a feeling you need to go to school. So she wanted to go on a mission, which was unconventional at the time. And so he said, well, if you want to go on a mission, then if you go to school, I will pay for your mission. Which was, I mean, this guy, crazy, right? Like, was not the guy that would do that kind of stuff. Certainly not for his only daughter. So she came down to school. They end up in the same little community. So he asks the roommate out, goes over, she's not there. Goes to her place. My mom is there.
So that's the story. That's
I'm compressing a little bit here.
But that's exactly the story.
Right.
So
he knocks on the door. The roommate isn't there, but my mom is.
But your father was there to meet the roommate.
Correct.
The date was, or whatever it is, was with the roommate.
With the roommate.
So here we go. Like I see it like a movie, you know, knocking the door and your mom open and say, what do you want?
She's not here. Right.
Yeah, she's not here.
They sat and they talked for a little bit. My dad decided that he was kind of interested in my mom. My dad was a little bit of a skirt chaser at the time. I hate to say that. But so he asks her out for the following weekend.
Well, because, you know, she's not here. There. You want to go for a out? Yeah,
so
why not?
He says, you know, I'll take you out. I think it was Saturday. It was then what they were going to do. So he starts thinking about her. Now, at the same time, she's already realized that she wants to marry him. Is the story that she says. She hasn't even gone on a date with him, and she says, I want to marry him already. She already knows. And the date was on Saturday, and I think he proposed on Thursday. He said, I got something I want to say to you. Called her up, said, meet me downstairs at the common area. So she's sitting at the table. He comes trotting down the stairs, plops in a chair next to her, throws a Band-Aid, because he's broke, on the table. And the way he asked was, so? And they've been married 46 years.
That's the point, guys.
Four kids, 46 years later.
This story is not a joke. This story is not a joke because they're happy together.
Yes.
And they're married. They're still married. And they're a fabulous couple.
They are.
Start like this. You know, and in a Saturday to a Thursday.
And they stuck to it. And the thing that my dad always told us about it was that A, he would kill us if we did the same thing. But B, and more importantly, was when you make your decision about something like that you want to be a part of this community, you want to be a part of this person's life, and you have children, and like, take it seriously. I love them to death. I could talk about them for hours.
Yeah. And in fact, our idea was to do a small documentary about all this story.
Yeah.
And all of this started because I was curious, guys. I couldn't think about something like this can happen. Something like this cannot happen. Something like this cannot happen. You cannot get to know each other a Saturday and get married to each other on a Thursday.
Yeah, it was engaged on a Thursday.
On a Thursday.
Before their date.
And it works for more than 30 years.
Well, and what's interesting is the only reason why...
And they're happy together.
Yeah, the only reason why you got to know this, too, this is the other thing that's interesting, is because I brought my parents over to the office one day.
That's right. I met them.
And you sat and visited.
Absolutely. So I understood the vibe that they have together. I can see it with my eyes. Yeah. That's why I couldn't accept that these two individuals cannot know each other on a Saturday and married in a Thursday, and here they are 30 years later. I refuse to believe it. Yeah. And so I went to Jarett and said, we need to do a documentary.
We still need to do that.
Yeah, we still need to do
definitely
it.
do.
100%.
But that's kind of the world.
And it's going to be another podcast.
Yes. Oh, we could again talk about it for hours.
Absolutely right. And now the first question will be, what exactly, when we talk about community, what does the word community really means?
Yeah, I think.
But before that, I'm gonna let you think about a little 1 second. Is because Noah called me.
Oh well, you gotta.
So I'm gonna say
engage in community here, my man.
Yes, amore mio. There we go, amore mio. It means my love. We are filming a podcast. Maybe I will put this in.
Well, I mean, it is part of it, right? I mean,
that's right. It's community. I call you right after. And
I always love watching your face when you're talking to your son.
Oh, I love it. And then I put a picture of us.
Do it.
As selfie. Or let's do it with a sign on the back. Maybe it's better. Nice. I love that. All right. And let's send the picture.
He's a good kid.
He's such a good kid. It's such a good kid. I need to be honest. Oh, your second picture is fire. Look at that face. That is going to be a Instagram post. All right. So we are back.
Rewind.
So I'm going to repeat the question just to enter back in
just
our...
a clean cut.
Yes. And also to go back in our energy for the podcast. So when we talk about community, the word community, what does the word really means, you think?
Yeah. You know, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this kind of in preparation for this podcast. And I think that a lot of people view community as a differential to individualistic things, right? So instead of individual, it's about others. But I don't think it is necessarily just that. I think when we talk about community, we talk about connection. I think we could easily swap in the word connection for that.
That's right.
I think one of the best pieces of media I've ever seen that depicts this is actually It's a Wonderful Life.
Mm-hmm.
The George Baileys of the world, right? One man with all those connections, encouraging connection between other people, formed a different community, right? So when I think of the word community, I probably think of connection. Very first most, right off the bat. I don't lose anything inside myself. If anything, I'm richer for the connection. But we have a tendency to view it as differential to individualism. But I don't think I put it in that place.
No, I agree 1,000%.
Yeah.
And also, why do you think that we are losing with generations the sense of community? Meaning, why do we have at least the feeling, the belief that the community in the generation before was better, and generation before again was better, and the sense of community will be worse and worse and worse? Why do we have this feeling? At least the feeling. Yeah. I'm not saying we're right or wrong. Yeah. But why do we have this feeling?
Well, I would never presume to be the expert, right? I'm not a sociologist or anything. But, you know, when I think about people and young people today, you know, I think about the struggles that I went through when I was young. Honestly, I think it's because we have a desire to be connected, but there are pseudo connections that have been created by powerful businesses, frankly, and thought leaders that encourage certain behaviors in young people today that try to leverage the same desire to drive for community in a fake way or in a false way.
Interesting.
Right? So I think that it isn't because we lost that. I mean, that's something that...
So simply translate, you think that this company obviously are trying to transform the real community into the social media idea of a community?
Well, they can't leverage it. Powerful people want to leverage things for their benefit of their company.
That's right.
They
know everything about you. You're right. Because let's think for a moment.
Yeah.
If you have a community in your neighbor, for example, and you go around, they can't record everything that you say.
No.
They don't know what T-shirt you have in your community. They don't know what food you like, media you like, or accessory you like, because you are in the neighbor around. If you are in social media taking picture of yourself, sending message to the other people, you are so right on this. They know the shirt that you wear, from the dialogue, what you like, from the likes, what topic you like, and they collect all this info to sell you stuff perfectly.
Right. We didn't lose our sense of desire for community.
So maybe then the point is we're not losing, and we didn't lose the sense of community. They stole them to us?
I think so. That was kind of the
This
sense
is
that I'm going.
huge.
Yeah, I think that my perspective on that is that it was stolen. We used to have a third place. You know, I've read a lot about third places, right? These other places other than home and work that used to exist that were little to no cost to exist in. But when there's no cost, there's no profit. And when there's no profit, there's nobody making money.
This intuition is huge. I may change even the title for this because
Sure.
You're absolutely right. Maybe they stole our
I think that's a
community.
fair way to say that. I think they stole community from us.
That's madness.
It is.
And then, what do you think we can do
Well,
at this point?
yeah, I think it's never too late for communities to survive. It's never too late for us to realize that the other person on the other side of the door is somebody like us. Right? Like, I suffer the same way you suffer. Right? I have plenty of nights I'm out there by myself, clicking through Netflix, trying to find something to watch because I'm having a bad night. You know? But we're not finding the right ways to reach out with each other, and there aren't leaders in our communities that are stepping up and saying, hey, we need to create spaces that enable young people and others, frankly. I mean, this is not an isolated problem to young, to be together, right? I mean, you think of the traditional one with the bar, right? But what if I don't drink? Mm-hmm. Right? I don't drink.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to go to a bar? Right? Like, how do I do that? Or where can I go? I would challenge anybody. Where can you go to spend time that doesn't cost you money?
Especially in America, I need to be honest.
Especially in America.
In Europe,
but
it's much better.
But this is why Europe is so much healthier in a lot of ways. Right? Now, come on. I think Italy and others, right? I mean, they used to have a really strong sense
barely, because the situation is bad there too. People don't realize.
See, and I'm not familiar. I don't realize this, so I have to rely on you to tell me.
Yeah.
But I always had a good sense.
And for example, America is huge. So, for example,
gigantic, yeah.
Utah for me is a beautiful, wonderful community, one of the last standing communities of United States, and Utah Valley more than Salt Lake City,
sure.
and this small community that are not that small because it's more than 100,000 people live here.
But it feels like a small community.
Yes, they have a strong community.
Yeah.
So when you talk about United States, we need to understand what United States means, because LA, for example, that I spent most of my life,
nothing like this,
doesn't have a sense of community at all.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, maybe
in Europe it's the same thing, though.
I have no idea.
If you go in big city and you go small little town, I don't know, but
I think there are analogs that we have in our world that enforce or encourage community, which we're going to speak about, right? Like religiosity,
right.
Or community clubs and stuff like that.
Family is the first community.
They used to create that naturally. But
family is the first community as well.
Of course.
Think about it.
Family, and then the friends you choose.
And look about what's happening in the family. They're almost out of fashion.
Yeah, it is out of fashion.
For young kids.
It is.
For young people.
Well, and I think that's a failure on a geopolitical scale, a failure from leadership in the United States and other countries to create systems that help the young. It's just so easy to buy old people's votes. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but it really is so easy to just get old people to vote for anything now. So we're not investing. I mean, I recently watched a very amazing kind of piece on YouTube that was talking about what can we do to change the population collapse that's occurring across the country, across the world, frankly. And it was about, we need to create thoughtful investments in the young and in families. I think it's so much bigger than that. Like, yeah, sure, there's the mechanical pieces of the community is going to collapse and we're not going to have enough young people to pay taxes and all that. But what happens when nobody cares? Because they're so busy trying to survive. Everything falls apart.
Right. Falls apart.
I was going to give a good example from just yesterday. I was coming back from a rather grueling trip that I told you about.
And you know what is important to think about as well?
Yeah.
That when you think about everything falls apart, you may go economically thinking, and structurally thinking in a country, and about organization, about political organization. What about if everything is failing psychologically in the brain of the people?
I think it is. I mean, I think
That is even worse.
We want to think in systems because when we externalize our problems, it feels easier to think about. But what happens, recently I lost somebody very near and dear to me. My cousin recently passed away, and he was one of these examples to me of kind of connection. We were always talking to each other, texting each other. He knew I helped him move 2-3 times. He could call and I would answer questions about how to fix this problem or that. I used to be an auto parts guy, and so he would ask me where to go for parts, and I would ask him questions. I would ask him about, and he was into records, he was into design, he was, how do you do this, how do you do that? And we had that connection, and there was all the secondary benefits, but the primary benefit was neither of us felt alone. And that's something that, like, you can go into psychology, and you can go to really basic, earliest forms of psychology, and that's crucial for children's development, humanity's survival, for that matter. Everything runs on that currency, So the example I was going to give was yesterday I got home from this really crazy trip. My lawn had gotten quite overgrown, and there was these foxtails growing in my yard. And I didn't see it. My dog ran outside and immediately went straight to the foxtails. And if anybody knows about foxtails and dogs, they get in all the orifices. They're these barbed seeds. They get in the ears and the nose.
That's right.
So she comes in the house screaming because she's got one in her ear.
Wow.
And I have to rush off to an emergency vet. And now I'm like, crap, I got to get this yard mowed. So I don't have a mower. Doesn't work. I can't find somebody to pay for it. I called a friend and I said, hey, can I borrow a lawnmower? And before I got home, he was mowing my lawn.
Come on.
He was mowing my lawn. I didn't ask him for it.
Yeah.
And it made me feel seen in a really amazing way. And it made it so I could tackle all that kind of stuff. And then I returned the favor. Yeah.
And you know what is funny? Here in Utah, I have the same thing with my neighbors. Exactly the same thing. When I have a problem at home and I'm asking, hey, is that happen? When I finish the conversation, they're already there fixing the problem. It's crazy. And on 20 years, I think, living in Los Angeles, in 3 places, I own a home. Guys, I never met my neighbors.
That's awful, isn't it?
I don't know their names.
I mean, it's not.
We had a house next to each other, one and another one in another side, and we never knew our names.
But it's not your fault, right? Like I don't want anyone to listen to this podcast.
And maybe they were thinking I was the crazy Italian that he was too, like, hey, hi, how are you? Close the door.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it takes societal change. It takes a decision on a global scale to decide that being connected to other people brings us benefits that are worth it.
But what do you think drove people from get interested less to the neighbors or your family or in your relative, because that is also your first community? Churches or something like that. There's also a community.
You have these really core kind of communities.
Why they lose interest on all of this and they gain it on online presence, social media, why this shift? What is more attractive, you think?
So I think that there are a number of things, and I think you could write reams of data books about this kind of stuff. But when I think about it, one of the things that sticks out the most to me is that these social media apps, for example, and that's just one part of it, to be clear. We'll talk about the others in a second, but these social media apps are optimized for interaction. They are optimized to feed you the stuff that keeps you the most engaged and also the stuff that aligns with you the most.
To keep you like a zombie in front of that
I want to belong.
Monitor at 2 a.m. in the night.
None of us want to feel like we're the only person that thinks the way we do. We all want to be in the echo chamber, right? And social media just serves it up on a golden platter. It does the work for us. Human beings love that. So why wouldn't we? When I'm with my family, there are so many things we disagree about. We don't vote the same. We don't think of things the same. I don't even have the same religion.
I see where you want to go.
Right? But when I'm on social media, I'm with the people that I think exactly the same as me.
Because the software bring me there.
The software took me there. So I feel easy. It feels simple. I feel at home. I'm comfortable. So then I don't have as much desire. It kind of burns you out. You don't really feel like you need it, but you aren't really getting anything back. You're not getting filled. You're not getting challenged. You're not getting pushed. And last, I think that it's just these other pillars, unfortunately, they just have developed reputations with young people. It's become fashionable. in some instances to not be a part of them, right? I think there are a lot of people that pride themselves on not being religious because they view it as small-minded, perhaps. And whether or not you believe in God or not, the benefits of being a part of a church, the community that comes from being a part of a church and being with people where you're speaking and visiting with each other every week, that time investment creates connection, makes it easier for people to not slam the door in your face when you need a cup of sugar, so to speak, right? But, I just think that it became unfashionable on some levels, and that's also the fault of us as a society not deciding that these things are important, right? Like, I think about, I had friends growing up. I remember I had one friend growing up whose parents were so controlling and so regulating about the ways that their kids could do things. I remember they had a token system for their game system. Had to do chores to earn tokens that you could put in the slot, and it would give you 15 minutes of electricity on the, PlayStation.
Wow. They built something like that. Mm-hmm. Wow.
That kid was more addicted to games than any of the rest of us.
Interesting.
And I think that's also because we all want to rebel against the systems that we were a part of. And so his parents made that something that he wanted to rebel against.
For sure. Balance, guys. Balance, please.
Balance.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
1000%.
So I think, we need to encourage in our young people today to reach out and to be connected to other people that have differing opinions.
In real world.
In the real world.
That's very, very important for me. Because, for example, another question that is connected with this.
Yeah.
We want to move it, from the neighbors, the churches or families, all the communities that we have in real life.
Yeah.
We want to move it to online, social media, and all these.
I think it's convenience, though.
It's convenient and connect us to other people that believe and think like us, right? Yeah. Connect us. Mm-hmm. So we are connected with so many people. Infinity, because you can go there and look for people in social media or look for groups
for what I want to see
in Google or on internet for what you are interested.
Yeah.
And you can spend hours and hours, infinity time, finding new people and connect with new people, right? Mm-hmm. How come, though, the data is here? How come there are more lonely people today with this system than before with a real community that it was limited only with the time, with your feet where you go, the 2-3 people that you meet maybe in a very small church or a small neighborhood? Why today, with this infinity possibility to connect with infinity people online, there are more lonely people?
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's $1 million question. I mean, $1 billion question, $1 trillion question. It's a huge question.
And the data is there. I'm not inventing anything.
No,
you can Google it and you can see that people are more lonely today.
It is there. There is a huge issue with loneliness. And
the data is
reams.
It's very strange because you see the social media goes up and the loneliness, according to the interview or the data that they collect, is going up together with the social media. So
I think it's a bait and switch is kind of the thought process I had. It's we have an innate desire that comes from our progenitors, our ancestors, to be connected to each other, right? One of the things I recently read about was biphasic sleep, which is kind of an interesting idea. Apparently, if you take a human being, this research has been done, you take a human being and you stick them in a room with no forms of artificial light, they actually will start sleeping in 2-hour chunks. They'll sleep for 4 hours, they'll be awake for 1 to 2 hours, and then they'll sleep for 4 hours. And this was apparently the way that our ancestors did it.
Interesting.
They would sleep for 4 hours, and then for that 1 to 2 hours, they would be around the campfire telling stories. And those were the stories that were the most defining for the society, for the group of people that were there. I think that we have in our heads a biological need or a biological desire to be connected to other people. But big social media companies and even smaller things like video games and other things, it's a bait and switch. There's an anonymity that comes with these places where I don't have to be who I am. So I never have to know whether or not the person on the other side has failings, issues, or problems. Because they're creating an artificial version of themselves. So when a young person gets on social media, even if they can hypothetically believe for 5 minutes that the person they're talking to on the other side is telling them the truth, their brain will always suspect that there's something not accurate about it. Because we're used to seeing somebody face to face, touching, feeling, seeing, seeing the contours, the blemishes, if you will. And understanding like, oh, this person has this difference of opinion, but yet they still helped me. I think that's a big part of it too. I've always felt the most impacted when the people that have helped me don't agree with me. I had this conversation once on my mission, actually, with a lady who was part of a little Bethel Baptist church, one of these little Baptist churches. She was probably 5 foot tall. If you know, I'm 6'4", 400 pounds, like I'm a big guy. She was very much the opposite of me. And she didn't believe the same things as me, religiously speaking, or we weren't come from the same places or any of that kind of stuff. It has been over a decade, and I still think about her.
Wow.
Because she was so kind. She was so kind to me. I would say, "What's up, ladies?" And they'd go, "Hey, how's it going? Y'all have eaten enough?" She'd give me a little bag of food, and she'd do like my own personal grandmother. I mean, I felt like I belonged. And it's been, 13 years since I've seen her, and still I think about her all the time. So I think it's the times that you're with people that you disagree with the most, when they can accept you, that are the most impactful for you. Social media doesn't empower that. Social media empowers similarity. That's the whole design.
Right. And in fact, when he sees that you're disagreeing with something or a topic, is very quickly to remove that topic forever from you and to bring you back to the rail of, no, this is what you like, follow what you like, don't.
I think a lot of young kids today, the research I think is there that talks about just kind of that anxiety, the neuroticism, the difficulty with being challenged that a lot of young people struggle with now, because they live in a world where they get to pick and choose the people that they interact with instead of being put in positions where you have to interact with the person that you completely disagree with. There's a beautiful story that there's a film about it, and I cannot remember the name of it, but you probably will, of a leader and a master of KKK gets put with a black activist back in the 60s during Jim Crow. They get put on a committee together to try and figure out how to integrate schools.
Oh, yeah.
It's a beautiful film.
Yes.
And the story goes, they hated each other. But over time, over a period of about 10 days, as they spoke to each other, they realized that they had a lot of commonalities.
Yes. 12 men or something like that. Yes.
And they ended up becoming best friends. He renounced the KKK.
Of course. And
they worked together to integrate schools in the South. All because they got together, sat down, and were forced to have a conversation. The film you're thinking of too, 12 Angry Men.
That's right.
It's a fantastic one.
Yes, it's another
one. It's a different one than I'm thinking of, but that's another one that's the same thing, right? Our preconceived notions of who people are oftentimes the barriers
and
to
disagree
us.
For all the movie, and then they agree that they need to agree, otherwise the movie will not end,
right?
And the case will not end,
right?
And it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It's one of my favorite films, for sure.
For some reason, talking about this, let me think about. I had a discussion with a young girl in these days where, in one point, she told me something that it really make me laugh inside. And not in a pity way or angry way or disagreement, but she told me, I don't like movies. I prefer TikTok.
Oh, boy. Okay.
But when she said that, I wasn't like, get out from here, we're done, right? For me, it was like, really?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Maybe I can introduce you some movies that I can start the passion and the love for movies.
Yeah.
Because maybe that's the reason. You don't know nothing about movies. You never started. Yeah. You grow up, born and raised, because she's really young, with TikToks, and that's all you know. And that's why you think that you have, the rights to say, I don't like movies.
Yeah.
I like TikTok videos. So maybe the young generation also, they are not taught. Yeah, and they don't know the direction where to go in the community.
The older generation has a responsibility.
Absolutely. Yeah, the young kids, they are born with this social media and these things to believe that the community is online.
Yes.
That if you don't teach them that the community is in your neighbor, in your city, 100%. In your school, in your family, they just don't know, and they automatically say, oh, I prefer the community online rather than the community on my neighbor and my.
Well, it's easier, right? And
so I will not even. I will not
for the easy way.
I will not even try that.
No.
Because I already know. But they don't know because they're kids. They're young, and when you're young, you don't know because you don't have a lot of experience. So maybe you're right. It is and was our responsibility to say no. You don't go to outside. This is absolutely the truth. And they. For some reason, the generation before they did it, I remember my mom, forced me to go to the oratorio, that is basically the church place where you play soccer and volleyball and basketball. Yeah. And there...
My parents did the same thing. We had something called Mutual. I never wanted to go. My parents would say, you have to go. Right?
Yeah.
Or I remember when I was young, my parents would say, if you're good enough to go out on Saturday, then you're good enough to go to church on Sunday.
And that was a good lesson for me, because then growing up, I start to do this thing that when I don't want to do something, sometime I force myself to do it.
Yeah.
And I have some of my best experience from this.
I mean, it doesn't always work out.
That's right.
I mean, I don't want to come off like some.
No, that's right. But at least you know the difference between the neighbor community and the online community. Well, these young kids, they don't know.
They don't know. And I think it is, the saying is out there. I didn't make it up, and it's a little corny, but society grows strong when old men plant trees under which they'll never gain shade. Right? Like you and I, and those that are older and more powerful than us even, are the ones that have a responsibility to create a society that enables kids and young people to interact with people, get out, do something, And we should be encouraging our young people to challenge themselves. We should be doing that. It doesn't mean they always have to be doing something they hate, right? But if you never make your kid try broccoli, how would they ever know if they like a salad, right? I mean, I can remember so many my siblings are probably like, I don't want to say no. I don't want to say no to my kids. So we like to redirect. Okay, I don't agree with that personally. I think maybe you need to say no to your kids sometimes. Maybe you need to help them understand the realities of life, and it doesn't always work out, but that's okay. It doesn't have to. Right? It is not their fault.
It's not their fault as well. Do you also think, because this is also another idea that a lot of people have, do you also think that individualism in United States grow from generation to generation to generation, that we reach such a high level of individualism? After all, we are talking about narcissism as a disease all in the last decades, but I think it was something that was always there. But how come there are so many narcissists right now in society? Do you think we are becoming more individuals, or not at all? This is not a problem. What do you think?
No, I think it is an issue. I think it really is an issue, but I don't think it's individualism per se that is the problem. There is this idea that I've long held on to, that the best lies are truths that are twisted.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? It is a true statement that you should be an individual, and you should figure out what you care about, and you should go out into the world, and you should gain a perspective that you have for yourself. We should not be telling our children to become drones that are all part of a specific religion or a specific group or any of that kind of stuff. The world grows most beautiful when there are people who pursue their creative passions.
Right.
Whatever they are.
Right.
Whether or not it's an engineering passion or an art passion or
painting,
anything. When people are doing what they love, that's when they're at their best. That's what we should be encouraging. But to your point, individualism, absolutely, I think it's grown over time, because it became more possible. Like my grandfather, I'll take my grandfather for example. He was a very tough man, very hardened man, but a very gentle man in reality. He was broken at a young age. His father died from alcoholism when he was just 14 years old, and he was the oldest and only son. So he took it upon himself to care for his mother. This is in a small town called Wellsville, Utah. back in the 40s, 50s kind of thing. He rode a horse to school, okay? It sounds like it's something out of, like, some crazy
I
movie.
love the picture for some reason to see that.
I mean, he had a 32 Ford, and he wore a leather jacket to high school. He was the hard and tough guy. He joined the Navy so she could have health insurance because she got cancer.
Wow.
But he was always the first one to show up when somebody needed help. He did not view himself as an individual very much. And his children definitely have more of that. And my cousins and us definitely have more of that. It has increased as time's gone on. But I think it's because of the reach a person could get to. I mean, it wasn't until he was nearly retired that he had to deal with a computer or the internet. And his children were building computers and internet. Right? My dad was a software engineer, right? He was building computers, right? And so he had to be plugged in. He was one of the only people in the neighborhood that had an internet connection. I can remember when Google came out, when that was the first thing that was getting exciting, like, whoa, can't do anything on the internet, but now there's this thing called Google you can use. And nowadays, the world is so small. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're going to do this podcast, and anybody in the world can listen to it.
That's
and you'll
crazy.
have listeners from Eastern Europe, China, Asia, Micronesia, whatever it is, all over the world. And my grandfather didn't even know those societies or cultures existed.
At all.
Never was around them. And that's a double-edged sword. The benefits of going out into the world and gaining experience and understanding and realizing you're not your way of viewing, because he also had some very weird ideas. He didn't like, he served in Korea, so he really didn't like Koreans, for example. Right? He had a very bad perspective on that because of the time he spent over there. Right? That was a negative side effect of the small community. But the benefit of the small community was it was basically impossible for him to not have to deal with people he didn't like. It was impossible. He had to do it. He had to deal with his crazy Jewish neighbor who would yell at him all sorts of anti-Nazi stuff that, or Earhart was his name, and Garth hated him. But it was his neighbor since 55 until he died.
Wow.
He died 2-3 years ago. So it was his neighbor for 60 years, 70 years? And they hated each other. Right?
Sounds like a movie.
It is a movie, but the thing is that they found common understanding. They were forced to be together. So the convenience of social media, the convenience and access of this kind of stuff that decreases the size of the world for our young people today makes it so that they never have to face that. But also at the same time, it's just a new problem that I can't say that older generations wouldn't have struggled with too. I guess the point I'm trying to make is I don't want a listener to come into this and say we're just talking like two old boomer and perspectives and damn these old kids. I don't want to be that way. I want the listeners out there to recognize that what I'm saying is we've failed as a society to create the spaces that are attractive and encouraging for young people to do this. I read an interesting article that talked about youngest generation Alpha, the youngest of the youngest, are actually rejecting technology. And I've been seeing all these trends about them being mad about all the commencement speakers talking about AI. Like they're booing them out. I never booed in my commencement speech, right? I didn't want that kind of attention. They're rejecting it, but they're rejecting it without really knowing an alternative. Mm-hmm. They just know there's something wrong. There's something rotten in Denmark, right? Mm-hmm. They know there's something wrong, and we as a society can fix it if we wake up and realize that the most important things are, creating spaces for us to interact with each other.
Mm-hmm. And I think you're right. I think the problematic also was that our generation didn't realize that this was happening, but the corporations that they were building the social media did realize the power that they had with that new media that was internet and connect them and give you that software for free. Think about it. All that software was for free. All the social media,
the product.
Facebook,
if it's free,
Instagram,
you're the product.
It's all free.
Yeah.
So why is free? Why something so complicated, complex, that employ so
Google
many people?
How can Google be a multi-trillion-dollar company giving away their stuff for free?
And so when we were thinking, our generation, what a beautiful new world and new technology our kids have.
Yeah.
sneaky under the table, this company was like pulling the cables behind our kids and building a new idea of
selling community.
Even depression and loneliness and all these things are related because they're actually growing rather than going down on numbers.
Yeah.
And
speaking as somebody that has struggled with that myself,
we didn't understand that.
We didn't understand. We didn't know. And we have a responsibility as an older generation, as this middle generation, right, the non-boomers of the world, to step up and say, look, we can fix this. We have so much more power than we tell ourselves that we do. We can fix this. It's not beyond fixing. Every generation has to renew the promise of a better society. I remember reading the Federalist Papers and learning a lot about the founding of the United States, for example. And I remember, I think it was Jefferson that argued that the Constitution should have to be remade every 10 years.
Wow.
They should have to redo the whole thing. I'm grateful that didn't happen, simply because of the functionality of our government. I don't think that it would be very productive.
Absolutely.
But
they can't wait to do something. That would do yes.
Oh, yeah, maybe let's do it.
Let's do it.
But at the same time, the idea of, hey, we need to build in renewal.
Yeah.
He understood something that was important. We have to build in renewal. We as a generation need to wake up and realize that if we want the world to be a better place, we have to make the difference. It's corny. I know, like it sounds hokey and dumb, but when we wake up and realize that it's our world and it's our responsibility to create spaces for young people to have a different perspective and a different life, Leo saves the world. You're doing it. You're trying to do it.
Trying to use the tool to go in the other direction.
To go the other direction. They can. Everything is a double-edged sword. Social media can be a beautiful thing. It can create experiences. I remember, it's stupid, but it was hilarious. I remember seeing a guy created a Facebook group that was, come to Central Park and watch me eat a whole chicken live in New York City. And you have to go look this up. It's absolutely crazy. This guy
will.
He does this, and I think there were like 1,000 people came out in New York City to watch this guy eat a whole chicken. It's like a rotisserie chicken. But it was incredible. They were cheering, and they're meeting each other, and they're jostling, and it can be the opposite. It doesn't always have to be that we're just creating profit for multi-trillion-dollar companies.
Yeah.
We can leverage the tools that we have to create communities that are impactful and powerful.
I'm wondering if we lost control when everybody jumped in.
Oh, yeah.
I'm wondering if humans were just not ready to be all connected at the same time in such a short time. Let me explain.
Yeah.
So the human race, right? Let's say more than 2,000 years.
Yeah.
And this is the timeline of these 2,000 years. And then you have, in this timeline of 2,000 years, only here that you connect everybody at the same time every day, and you can write something and everybody see it, and you can post a picture, everybody see it. So this is, compared to this, it's very fast. So not connected, and then in the end, boom, they get connected. So maybe it was too fast for humans to get worldwide connected all together at the same time, Yeah. And we were just not ready to do something like this. And this is the problem. I don't know, because I always think, and I don't have an answer on this, but let me ask you.
Could anybody have an answer for it? I mean,
do you think that a big city, a huge city, have a better community, or a small town have a better community?
That's a great question. I think functionally the small town ends up having one, but I think that there's no reason why the metro can't.
That's right.
I mean, young people are drawn to metropolitan areas for a reason.
Absolutely.
There are economic advantages to being in a metropolitan area. Also, like, I'm not going to lie, I love New York City. Loved it. I love New Jersey. I love the pace of it and the availability of things and the hustle and bustle of the whole thing. I kind of love it, It doesn't have to be this way. I mean, when we open up our eyes and realize that the world is a sandbox, there are no rules, you just can do whatever you want or need to do. I mean, I'm not advocating for anybody breaking the law or doing anything crazy, but I mean, you are the master of your own design. I mean, you can do what you want. The community can exist. I mean, and it did, right? You take New York City back in the 50s, you know, you had boroughs, you had Little Italy, you had, you know, the Irish community, you had the Chinese, and, you know, little Chinatown or whatever, and they stuck together, like Rooftop Koreans, you know, and the LA riots or whatever. I mean, there were communities that exist in metropolitan areas that are very effective.
Yeah, because there were micro universe inside the city.
They found commonality, right? I mean, we find commonality and we connect with people, but the reality is that it is that face-to-face connection that's required. I mean, social media, I'm not going to vilify it. There are plenty of people that have been very greatly impacted for the positive by having, you know, I think of these poor kids that are transgender or LGBTQIA plus that feel marginalized in the societies or places that they belong, and they find a reason to continue on in life, to keep going because they find other people that had similar situations. That can be a very positive thing. Mm-hmm. It might surprise people that as a somebody coming from a more very conservative area and a very conservative religion, I don't want to see kids who are killing themselves over that. Mm-hmm. I don't want that. Mm-hmm. Right? So I mean, it can be a positive thing too. I don't want anybody to say that it's all negative, but it's up here when we decide that we want it to be different. You know, my cousin that recently passed that I spoke about at the beginning, he was really big about that. And I'm trying to learn to take from him an example of somebody that was always, you know, taking the time to make the text message, to reach out, make a phone call, talk to me, visit with me, ask me how my life's going, and creating safe spaces for me to tell him what's going on in my life. You know, I'm a caregiver for my parents. I help out. Life is pretty stressful sometimes. And having somebody that takes the time to actually ask me, how are you doing? What's going on in your world? That works and helps me too. I mean, that's what community comes down to. Connection, like we talked about at the very beginning, doesn't have to not be social media. It's just that social media, when we allow it to be controlled and created by mega corporations, they have an interest in making it financially beneficial.
1000%.
Right.
And why do you think, the online community can be there and can connect people that are different, that they feel lonely and they found other people online that they're similar to them. But why the social media also amplify the hate, amplified, so this community that they create then get bullied because people are like, sometimes I have the feeling that people can't wait to go to Facebook and write something bad about something else. And I did an experiment, you believe it or not.
Okay.
I put a picture of a flower, and it was a margarita, you say it in Italian, but not the drink. Margarita is what is yellow with little yellow things all around.
Like a daisy?
Daisy, I think you call it daisy. I put a picture of a daisy, and I wrote under, "Oh, I love yellow flowers."
Okay. What happened?
What happened is, you guys believe it or not, eventually on the comment, somebody even found a way to be negative. Well, why? What do you have against other flowers with different colors? Why do you like yellow so much? I think also blue flowers are great. Do you imply something with the yellow flowers? Yeah. So we went from there to people then start to fight with each other, and I don't want to tell you what they say to each other. Yeah, and so sometimes I feel like whatever you do is useless because they always find an excuse to fight each other. And this is incredible. I don't use Facebook at all anymore because I think Facebook is the worst. Yeah. And I don't really understand who use it and why they use it. I have Facebook just because there is the Facebook market that you can buy and sell stuff so easily in your community. Yeah. But think about it. I love Facebook Market so much because you can sell and buy in your community in like 10 miles range, 50 miles, and it works perfectly in your community, right? Yeah. But then everything else is like, I don't know, sometimes I'm like, are these bots? Who are these people? Yeah. And Instagram was something else in the beginning. I remember I loved so much in the beginning Instagram because it was a photographer introduced me Instagram for the first time. Okay. He was at the beginning of the beginning, wasn't even belong to Facebook yet, was independent. And Instagram was just a platform to showcase pictures that they were square.
Yeah.
And so every
that.
single person have an Instagram account to showcase their square pictures about urban style life.
Yeah, it was
pictures.
really for photographers to share
That's
art.
it.
I mean,
It was gorgeous. And then when most of the people in the world jumped in, the problematic stuff. Again, it's connected from the fact, that thing that I said, maybe we are not ready to be so connected.
I mean, there is something to be said
world.
about that. There's an acceleration that happened, right? Where, I mean,
too fast.
100 years ago or 200 years ago.
That in the timeline of humans is not that much,
No,
but
I mean,
the revolution of social media happened in the last 10, 20 years.
It's like my parents, right? Like my parents are still alive. They're in their late 60s, and they did not have the internet, let alone, even regular phone calls. My dad remembers talking about color television, being the first person to get a color television. That was insane, right? The moon landing. I mean, to now where somebody took an iPhone photo of the moon or the Earth on that Artemis mission, right?
That's crazy.
There is something to be said about the acceleration of technology being something that is a little bit of a breakneck speed. And I do think there is a disconnect. And I'm, again, not a sociologist, but from a marketing perspective, I can tell you that, like, strong emotion sells. That's
always.
That's always strong emotion. I remember when I was in school, we did a lot of case studies on different brands that both succeeded and failed, and it always came down to strong emotions. They used to say that sex sells. Really, sex only sold because sex is a very powerful imagery.
And it's a strong emotion.
Strong emotion.
That side sold.
Yeah. And so now I think that a lot of companies and politicians and stuff realize they don't actually have to do anything. They just have to make somebody angry and point the finger at another person.
Absolutely.
And that interaction creates money, right? The people being mad at each other on Facebook don't think about the fact that that's making Facebook money, because that means they're on the platform, which means that Facebook can turn around and sell advertising space.
They want to go back the day after to see if they reply, and they're very passionate, they're using it.
And all of that data and information becomes a KPI that Facebook uses to sell advertising space
1,000%.
and make more money, right?
1,000%.
So they have an inherently misaligned incentive with what's best for society to sell strong emotion as much as possible, right? Rage sells just the same as sex sells. Strong emotion sells. That's really what the phrase should be. Strong sells. I mean, if you can get somebody really fired up about anything, they'll buy every time. So I just think, yes, I think there's something to be said about that, but the human mind is incredibly adaptable, right? I mean, you could take people and put them in absolutely abhorrent conditions, and they can be completely happy. Right, I mean, I think of little kids living in favelas down in Brazil or different, out in sub-Saharan Africa. They have nothing. They struggle to get water or food, and they're happy. They want to stay. They're a part of a community. They find a reason to be happy. It doesn't have to be this way. Right? I mean, I think if there's an overarching theme that I'm sticking to here, we can fix it. If we decide that we want something different. Like, it doesn't have to be this way. We can decide that we want the world to be a better place, go out and make it how we want it.
Yeah, but then again, the young generation need to have the experience of the other side that I think they don't.
Well, how do you know how to make it better if you don't know what it is to start?
Absolutely. Yeah. I always say the same example. Like, how can you imagine a new color? You can't, because you never saw it. Yeah. So it's the same for them.
Besides, what is color?
Yeah. Is a reflection of light. Is the color itself doesn't really exist, guys.
No. Yeah.
But I also want to go in the politics.
Sure.
Point of that. But before that, and I will not forget about that.
Okay.
I want to go on the direction of it's very interesting for me that speaking with young kids, the youngest generation.
Yeah.
I realized that a lot of them, they were complaining about the same thing. Female side and male side, they were saying, what I really don't like in today's world is that we have a relationship, and I realize that my ex-girlfriend, the guy says, and the girl says, my ex-boyfriend, they feel more comfortable to finish a story with a text message or even in a social media. This is new for me, for example, in a social media video.
Yeah.
So they are gonna do a video and say, hello guys, talking to their community in social media, saying that they finished this relationship that was toxic with this person. They feel the need to say in social media that they finished this relationship, or they send you a text, and they said, I feel sometimes that they have the incapability, they cannot face you and say it is over. So we're even disconnecting so much in real life that these young kids. But then my surprise was both of them, female and male, were complaining. So that means that they want it in a different way, but they're both doing it. So there is something like you said, there's been stolen our community.
Yes.
And this continued to make sense on my mind, because it's something that I'm gonna give you food that you like to bring you in a direction that you don't like, but you will not even realize that you go in this direction, and you will continue to go this direction because you like the food that I'm giving you. This is exactly what's happening. Yes. So what weapon, what can we do? You know, what can we do? They like this food, so they're not gonna stop to eat it.
No.
How do we bring back to go meet their neighbors outside, go to a coffee place, and a guy, you know, even talking to the friends and the kids of the neighbors and so, the idea of meeting somebody in a coffee place and go there and start a conversation. Today, kids, they think that you are a weirdo if you do this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they put their picture in a online dating, and they meet stranger after chatting 2-3 times for a date.
Yeah, it seems backwards. I think, I don't know. I mean, what do you do to fix it? That's the question you're really asking.
That's right.
Right? I think that there are any number of people that would give an opinion about what you can or should be doing to fix it. And I think there are kind of a million things that we need to do. But at the end of the day, I think we can simply put it all down to, we need to choose the harder path. We as people need to decide that the benefits of convenience do not outweigh the long-term ramifications of convenience.
Oh, but that's so hard for people.
It is so hard.
It's so hard for people.
It's hard for everybody. I mean, it's a continual struggle.
The long term.
It's always been a struggle for humanity, though, to be crystal clear, right? I mean, there's always been a desire for simplicity and ease. That's not something that's new. Yeah. But we need to always keep ourselves in check on that. I mean, the great philosophers of the past always talked about kind of the stoicism of controlling oneself and one's desires and laziness and all of that. I mean, there are a number of ways in which a person can individually approach it, and I'm not one to say you should do this or that. I mean, I'm not going to say I have perfect discipline. You know, I certainly don't look like a perfectly disciplined person. But that being said, I think recognizing inside of yourself the worst parts of yourself and your worst tendencies and saying, no, I don't want that. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. My worst instincts, my worst desires, I'm going to set those aside. I'm going to work on getting rid of those. And I'm going to try something that challenges me today. I'm just going to do something different. We need to encourage that in young people today. We need to challenge them to do that. But we can make it easier for them. And that's the thing that I think is kind of disappointing that I think we can do. You know, the older listeners out there that are in positions where they maybe have children, or maybe they're thinking of being in politics, or maybe they are already politically involved. We need to be creating spaces that encourage this. We can make it easier for them. We don't have to make it difficult. You know, one of these things that is interesting that, you know, and I'm not going to say it's perfect, but these ideas of the shopping mall is kind of coming back a little bit, right? But there's kind of this new era of shopping malls, right, where they have these multi-use spaces where there's homes and all kind of stuff. I don't think that's a bad idea. Creating spaces. I love going to the mall and seeing all these 14, 15, 16-year-old kids going to the mall.
At least it's a real community in real life.
Yeah, they use social media to coordinate with each other. They use social media to post about the things they buy. But you know what? It's better than nothing. They're getting out. They're going somewhere. They're doing something. It's the old adage, progress over perfection. Do not let perfection stand in the way of progress.
Yeah. And you were talking about politics
Yeah.
and politics involved with all of this. It's so sad because you can tell that politics and politicians love when we lose our sense of community.
Oh yeah, I mean, because they can play off of it.
Absolutely, because they can manipulate us so much better if we have our online communities or our social media is all there recorded. They're actually afraid about communities, real communities in real life, because they have no idea what's going on in your neighbor when you have this meeting with each other. They have no idea what you guys are talking about with your neighbor in your church or in your... They need to put spies there. And this was a problem before internet. The government was trying to infiltrate communities the best they could. And they would start to start insurrections or with people that they send there.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about like there's like the McCarthy,
absolutely,
the Red Scare, right? Where everybody was worried about that. My neighbor a communist kind of thing.
It was so sneaky left and right.
There's facades, but the reality at the end of the day is they want to know what's going on.
Don't think that this is not happening anymore. The difference is that they're invisible, they're inside the technology, they can see clearly, and they can manipulate way, way better that doesn't show up outside. And so I think politicians and politics love this lack of community,
of course,
and this integration of social media.
The minute they realized they didn't actually have to deliver on anything, and all they had to do was say it was the other guy's fault.
Absolutely, and point the finger.
That's all they have to do.
Yeah.
They stay in power forever. One of the things that scares me the most recently, have you ever heard of these flock cameras? You ever heard of these? F-L-O-C-K, flock.
It sounds familiar, but I don't remember.
It's all this stuff about Palantir and all this government surveillance that's starting to happen.
Oh, I see.
So flock cameras are these cameras that communities put up that are supposed to help with crime. The idea is you'll put up these cameras all across the community, and they can read license plates and cars and all that kind of stuff. There's all this positive stuff that they talk about. But you never really think about all the negative side effects of it. And that kind of stuff happens when we fear our fellow neighbor.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
1000%.
So yeah, they love it when the community dissolves because suddenly then they can do all that they want. They can take away any rights. They can take away the privacy that you have. They can take away your home. I remember there was a quote from a Blackstone investment banker where he said, "In the future, you will own nothing and you will be perfectly happy."
Oof,
that terrifies me. That terrifies me. Because how can I be perfectly happy if I don't have my own world, if I don't have a future for myself, if I don't have a home or children or a place that I can create? We all want to give something to the next generation.
And that the sad part is that young kids are joking constantly about this online.
Yeah.
And we are going
what else are they supposed to do?
And we are going this direction.
It's
the houses that cost $1 million.
It's the apathy.
And they're ugly. And the lack of jobs. And the fact that don't own a car,
AI
but just
destroy me. And I talked to a young kid yesterday, 16 years old. He came over to help with some chores. We paid him some money to help with some yard work. And I said, "Well, what are you going to do? You going to school or whatever?" "No, I don't think I'm going to go to college." "Why?" "Oh, because AI is going to take over my job anyway." The apathy. What else are they supposed to do other than be sarcastic and joke about it?
At least it's a good way to face it.
We sold them a future that they have no prospects in. And everybody says, "Oh, this is the next industrial revolution." Everybody feared the car. No, this is different because he who controls information now controls the world. It is not like Henry Ford did not control his employees. Okay? He created a system that made it possible for his employees to be more productive than ever before. But the employees were still key. They were still critical. AI, for all the good, and I use AI constantly. Right, constantly. I'm constantly using chatbots and stuff like that to read things and look at things to empower myself to be more plugged in and more knowledgeable and understanding about what's going on in my world. But it's going to make it so that they don't need us. That's what they believe. That's what young people believe. So what else are they going to do other than become apathetic?
Yeah, but also young kids, I think they repeat what they hear and they amplify what they hear. I don't know, because
nobody does.
No, nobody does.
Nobody does.
But
know the future.
For me, what I like, because I always see the glass full.
You are an optimist. You are an optimist, without a doubt.
But I'm an optimist that is very strange, meaning that I realize how bad the world is today. I realize in what critical condition we are. So I have a DNA inside me that forced me to be optimist to face the world that is so pessimist. Does it make sense?
No, it definitely makes sense. You know,
That's what happened inside me. So when I see AI, I see all the creative possibility that I have.
Yeah.
Like I write movies, I write scripts, and I made many movies.
Yeah.
And a lot of them with nothing, meaning that in the beginning I didn't have investors and I didn't have resources, so I arranged my movies with what I had, right? So today, to think about that, I can make a sci-fi movie eventually of one of my deepest idea with nothing, with just an AI, it's unbelievable, because I can create visually in a good way an idea that was just my dream idea of a sci-fi.
You're touching on something that I think is really important, and I hope you remember earlier in the conversation I touched on this. Everything's a double-edged sword, right? I mean, AI is Pandora's box. It's not going anywhere.
But for me, the desire of this is so big, because it was like, never before I can do that idea, Ulysses in the space and a spaceship and the universe, the exploration of the universe. Now I can do that. I don't need $200 million.
What I think the difference is that...
For me, it's too strong to see the negative side.
No, I think it's different than that. I think that we lived in an era, the world that we came from, the 20th century, was the world of industry, right? It was nuts and bolts, cars, bombs, planes, tanks, homes, hard stuff, right? I think we are facing a renaissance of creativity within this.
Yeah,
meaning
I agree.
that we need to be encouraging young people to pursue either creative fields or things with their hands, right? I mean, obviously, you remember AI is never going to be a plumber, but
I agree.
But I think,
and that's a good analogy, because think about it, the Renaissance come after which period? A period of medieval where people say, "Oh, the end of the world is coming, it's over,"
and then the Renaissance happened. So I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to sit here and
maybe a new Renaissance will happen.
Maybe it will.
I think it will.
I have no reason to say it won't. I think that young people need to be serious about understanding that the jobs that existed that AI will probably replace are technical. Those are the technical jobs that are going to go away, right? But that doesn't mean that there won't be other jobs to fulfill.
Absolutely, 1,000%. And new jobs will come out.
Creative passions, AI can be a partner in those creative passions. I don't know that I haven't shared this with anybody, but I've actually written a whole book. I wrote a book, 250 pages worth of poetry, and I wrote it all myself, and I did it with an AI.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I did all the editing and all of the polishing and all that kind of stuff. My proofing, right? Because I don't have the knowledge of how a book is supposed to be written, but it does, right? And so, leveraging that in a creative way and in a creative passion, I think 100% correct. I mean, I still did all the writing. It still took me a year and a half to write, and you would still do all of the cinematography and the recording and the design and all that. But AI is a force multiplier, just the same as the internet was, 1,000%. Or electricity was, or anything.
CGI in a movie.
It's all a force multiplier, and we as a societal decisions need to be made that we will choose to use this to create as wealthy and as powerful and as good of a society as we can. There's a quote that I love that got taken and used in a song. I don't know if you've ever heard of the band The Midnight. Love them. They have a track on their album Kids that has a quote from a gentleman that I cannot remember his name, but he was speaking about computing. This is in the early 80s, right? Computers are just coming on the scene. And he says, what in this age of digital computing, what comes of man? Well, the human being is much more adaptable to this environment than a computer is. The real question is whether or not we will make our society as rich and as beautiful as it can be using computing. So when we talk about community and we talk about AI and we talk about all these things, you can use these tools for good.
To destroy the community or help the community.
I'll give you a perfect example. So my father is really not well. He has early onset dementia, as a consequence of a pulmonary embolism. He nearly died, and it was not an easy experience. And I've become a full-time caregiver. This is really what I'm doing now with my time. And one of the challenges we have with him is his sleep. He's actually on a ventilator at night. His sleep apnea is so bad that it's killing his brain, which anybody out there, if you've got sleep apnea, take it seriously. Let me tell you, my dad is dying because he didn't take it seriously.
Wow. I do have it a little bit, by the way.
Take care of yourself, man. I don't want to find you dead. Come on now. I'm going to get... Whoever it is out there, get after him. I'm gonna check up on you. But he kept fighting with his hose. I couldn't figure out. So I actually worked with an AI to design a custom 3D printed bracket that I made myself to fit his hose, to organize it and put it all together. I've done it over and over and over again. I am using this AI to learn new skills as a mentor and as a teacher to teach me how to do new things. So there are ways to leverage this technology to be a force multiplier for yourself. It is scary. I'm not going to deny that.
And I think you're absolutely right when you say it is a double sword, 1000% double-sided sword, because in fact, when I have this conversation, when I have all of this thinking, I always say, people have good point why don't trust AI, don't like AI. Why do I like it so much? I like it so much because when I use AI, when I think about AI, I only think and use it for positive things, to help me for the creativity, help me to make a story real, or to find a solution. But maybe you're right, there is the other side, people that are thinking about AI as like, I can replace that job and be more profitable and make more money because I will not need this person and I just use an AI. I never thought about that. I never thought about, now I don't need this person because I'm going to use
because I can just use my AI.
My thinking when I use AI is always like, I can build that software to do that extra thing or do that in a movie to facilitate me to create the movie. Otherwise, the movie will never happen.
When cheap 3D printers first came on the scene, I remember everyone was talking about like, this is the end of Amazon. Because you'll just have a 3D printer and you can just print whatever you want. It didn't really come to fruition. And I don't suspect that AI will come to exact fruition the way that people say it will.
Right.
We have a lot of other structural issues.
But you're right on say that it's our responsibility, and we can use AI to help a society, for example, a community.
Yes.
We can use AI to help community. We can choose to use AI to help community,
Leo,
and we really don't choose.
Which starts here.
That's right.
Like, I understand that we think to ourselves that the politicians and the powerful, the Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and all these rich and powerful, Elon Musk of the world, are the ones that get to decide what we do and who we are. But that's, pardon my French, is bullshit.
That's right.
It's a lie.
Absolutely.
We will always be stronger than whatever anyone makes. Mm-hmm. We just need to decide within ourselves to create that society, right? Like we need to change the way we view society. Society is not our leadership. Society is our neighbors.
1000%. And now let's switch on what can we do to make it better our community.
I think that's critical.
And let's clarify in the beginning that I think is very important. What is the difference, for example, between friends and community?
Yeah, so I mean, I think they're connected. First thing, right? I mean, like, your friends can be a part of your community. You can be a part of a community of friends. But community is also just caring about the stranger.
Absolutely.
It's thinking to myself, hey,
that's the point
I don't need
where
to take
I want to go.
advantage of this other person.
Absolutely. Another important point. Just because I can.
Just because I can doesn't mean I should, right?
Absolutely. I love this. I love this so much because
have you ever heard about the cart test? You ever heard about the cart test, the shopping cart, right?
I love it.
Will you put the shopping cart away if nobody's watching?
I love it. I love it so much. And I want to emphasize on this. This is a key point. This is like we spoke for more than 1 hour.
Yeah.
And this is one of the key points. And I'm going to say so much about even Europe, even Italy, about this problematic. You do something to a stranger. You do something when nobody's watching.
Yeah.
And you do it right also for your sense of community.
Yeah.
And this is so beautiful.
Because you say to yourself, I love my community.
Absolutely.
I care enough about this community that I'm not willing to take advantage of it.
Absolutely. Example is that that little thing in the street where there are books that you can read.
Oh yeah, like the little public libraries that people set up.
Yeah,
take a book, leave a book.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the neighborhood, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
my
you
neighbor has one of those.
Oh yeah, here we have one as well.
It's beautiful. I love it.
You open it. If there is a book that you're interested, you can read it. You put it back. You put back another book.
Yeah.
But do not take all the books and sell it on eBay.
Yeah.
Because of your profit. You are in a street. You have something like a trash. You put it in the ground because you're saying, I don't care. It's not my street. And then you leave.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Because even if it's not your community, even if it's not your street, don't do it because it's the right thing to do. And in a way, this is so important because we're losing this so much. And believe me, I can see that this, I don't even know how to call that, education of community. Let's call it education of community. And I can see it so strong, for example, here in Utah, compared in a lot of other places where I was.
Yeah.
And even in Europe that we said, yeah, we have a lot of good things in Europe that are happening compared to here. But this sense of community, of respecting the community, it's absolutely obliterated. Like in Italy, if nobody can see you, you can steal stuff, you can, do whatever you want because nobody see you.
Yeah.
And so this is really harmful because it's so important. You can go down, in such a bad direction.
It's a snowball.
Absolutely.
Right?
A strong, huge snowball.
It's a huge snowball.
And I cannot tell where it comes from. Where this education of community come from, you think?
So I always view it as a structure that comes from family.
So first, family.
Family first.
And values at family.
Yeah. The values of a family, again, probably won't surprise very many people if they're familiar with my religiosity. Even outside of religiosity, if you take the time to think about and look at the studies that correlate a child growing up in a two-parent home with a father and a mother, the way that they turn out compared to a child that does not. And that's not to say that, that you're automatically bad if you don't have a dad or a mom. Like that's not appropriate. But it is to say that when you raise children in a home where they have both of those examples, they serve different purposes and they teach different things to children. And that grows up inside of somebody as respect for elders, I look at very generational societies, multi-generational societies like Japan, China. Right? There is certainly plenty of problems with that, but the historical average of being very respectful towards your elders and all that is something that was instilled in them, right, by their parents and by their parents' parents, and their and on and on and on. So I think you go back to the research that it is the family at the core of it that it starts with, but then it's also what our peers accept. Right? Like, say something. See something, say something. Right? Be the change you want to see in the world. And it's a little dorky sounding, agreed, like it's corny, but be the change you want to see in the world. I can't help but think about all of these ICE protests. I'm not trying to take a political position on that, what anybody thinks of it. But I have to admit, what side you're on, it was nice to see people engaging in the conversation. I don't want violence. I would never advocate for that. I would prefer if we could just have a civil conversation about it. But the point is that there are people coming out and saying, no, I'm not okay with this. I know it isn't happening to me, but I'm not okay with it happening to them.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
So it doesn't just have to come from your family. Right. It can come from you just in yourself deciding, hey, look, I don't want to do this. I know I don't. Yeah,
it's not touching me. I have nothing to do with that. But I just don't want this to happen.
I just don't want that to happen. I just don't want it to happen.
In our community.
Don't want it to happen in my community.
Yeah.
That person doesn't deserve that. And I think the degradation comes from us being hurt ourselves. Right? The world is so aggressive now. Dog eat dog world, right? You got to be an alpha male to survive the dog eat dog world. You do not have to behave that way to survive. In fact, if you behave that way, you're really just making it worse.
That's right.
The best solution you can have is community. It's friends. It's the people, like I said, my friend, I called him and said, hey, can I borrow a lawnmower? And and he comes over and mows my lawn. I didn't ask him to do that.
And in fact, then the question is, what are these small practical things that we can do to rebuild a community, even a neighborhood community that is disappearing and is so weak?
I think of one of the oldest ones that I think was a really good example for me came from the Boy Scouts of America. And that organization is a little messed up and has had its own problems, but there was this idea that they said, do a good turn daily. Right? And they had this coin that you were supposed to carry, this challenge coin. And on one side it said, done my good turn or whatever. And the idea was you were supposed to do one kind thing every day, and then you could flip the coin over. You could flip it over and see the other side. But it's about taking the time to care about the stranger who might need help. That's what it really is. You just need to ask yourself the question, does the person across from me need something? And can I give?
You see, we always end up to go to unconditional love.
It's love, man.
In every single topic that I have faced in this podcast,
it's because we of the bottom of the level.
We always go to unconditional love.
I wasn't sure I was going to share this story, but
love without pretend something back. That's the key. I always tell you guys this. Always. Unconditional love.
So I just came back from this really ridiculous trip that I told you about.
Yes.
Trapped on the side of the road, broken down 5 times, spending all this money on fuel, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to deny that financially speaking, my family were fine. I'm not. I've got food at home. I've got a house to live in. I've got gas in my car. We were passing through Navajo Nation country, and we were at a gas station there, and I think I put $300 worth of diesel into this truck, right? And there was this young family. This girl was probably 19 years old, and this broken down old Hyundai that she was jumping in the parking lot. And I just stopped and I said, hey, is everything okay? Like, I know I'm not going to mansplain this to you, but do you need me to help you at all? You can ask if you do. And she said, no, I think I've got this thing. I think I'm going to try and jump the car. It'll be fine. So I keep filling up my truck, right? And $300 worth of diesel. It takes a minute. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching her. She gets it started. But then I noticed another problem. She doesn't seem to be able to put gas. She keeps doing different cards. It's not working. So I just approached her again and said, hey, again, it looks like you're having trouble. Are you sure everything's okay? Is there anything I can do for you? She says, well, I hate to ask, but could you put some gas in my car? And I said, what's going on? She told me, hey, look, I tried this card. It's not working. And she showed me she tried it. It didn't work. She says, I'm trying to get home. It's late. It's like 10 o'clock at night. Pitch black. If you've ever been out to the Navajo Nation, they really, it's dark. There's not street lights. It's dark. So if she runs out of gas, she's going to be trapped on the side of the road in the complete pitch black darkness, waiting for somebody to come get her. And I just had a feeling in my heart that this was the right thing to do. So I said, well, I can spare $15, because I'm broke from doing all this stuff. But you know what? I can do it. And $15 worth of gas. She was like, I'll get home and have leftovers. I said, great, so let's go in and do it.
And then my point is, true or not, what do you think is better? To give her $15 or not?
Of course, always to give.
Unconditional love.
There's a hymn in my church.
That's so simple choice.
There's a hymn in my church that says, because I have been given much, I too must give. Come from just caring and loving.
I know you enough to know that you did that.
Yeah, no.
And I'm living right now in a community, in a place that I know that there are a lot of people that are doing that.
Yeah.
And I know that the world is going in the opposite direction, actually. That the individualism...
Well, even here it's a problem. I mean, you see the guy begging on the side of the street and you have to wonder, am I supporting his addiction?
Right.
But there are ways you can help that you don't have to give in or support somebody's addictions or troubles. You can find ways past that, and you can say, do you have enough to eat?
Yeah.
I remember watching another podcast where they were talking about, don't ever say well, let me know if you ever need anything, because the people never do. Mm-hmm. Just say, can I do X for you?
And that is so interesting to me, because even to kickstart and restart to rebuild the community, the step that everybody can do is unconditional love.
Yeah.
And try to help a stranger.
Help a stranger.
And so in this way, you rebuild a community.
There's always something that you can do. right? I mean,
Always.
it doesn't have to be financial. I mean, we all go to financial.
Even a little bit will help.
Just, I walked out of the grocery store the other day.
Even a
I
little
saw an
bit,
elderly lady trying
once
to put
per
her,
week.
Just
But do it.
do something.
Yeah.
I walked out of the grocery store. Elderly woman was struggling to put a cart of groceries in her car. I'm young. I can handle it. I just go over and say, "Ma'am, would you like some help?"
Yeah.
That would be lovely. Thank you so much. It takes me 2 seconds. I do it. She goes home, tells her husband, "Oh, I had this sweetie," blah, 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 blah. You will never see the ripples that go out
Yeah.
from your single act of kindness. One act of kindness can change the world. That's what I've always believed. That's what people say.
And try and force yourself to do it in the real world.
Yes.
Where you can be there in person.
I promise
for
you,
our existence.
I'm going to challenge your listeners. Try it. If you will just make one action a day of kindness, unconditional, without intention or strings, or not for Instagram. Hey, I'm helping get this kid a kill.
Right.
If you'll do one of those every day, you won't feel sad anymore.
So true.
You won't be depressed. You'll feel connected to other people.
And energy, and that's the right things to do. And before I forget about this, talking about the real world against the not real world, I want to ask you something that I really don't want to forget to ask you before I face the last question that
Let's
I
do
have.
it.
But what I forgot to ask you before is, and I'm so curious, because I ask a lot of friends that I have, why do you think that Mark Zuckerberg failed on push a complete
No, they're talking about the metaverse.
online?
Why did he fail on the metaverse?
Why didn't work out with this new generation to suck them in a society completely virtual, in a virtual world? Because according to our equation that we spoke almost for 2 hours about all of this, the final destination for these kids, the last step, will be a build society and community online in a metaverse, but then it fell miserable even with this young generation. Why do you think that the last step of the catastrophe fell? What do you think?
So my thoughts on that one, I think that we all come down from the high eventually. So the kids that are on Instagram, TikTok, I do the same thing. Some days you have a bad day, you lay down, you start scrolling, looking at stuff, reading Reddit posts or TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is. But we all come down from the high. Eventually, we all come down. At the end of the night, you rub your eyes and you go, oh, it's 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. or whatever. We all come down from the high. I have never met an addict who didn't have at least a shred of understanding that it was hurting them. And that's what we all are. I mean, this is heroin for kids. This stuff is designed to be as addictive as possible, but kids are not dumb. And they go and they realize, you know what, maybe this isn't actually the best thing for me. They don't know what to do about it. They don't understand what's wrong, but they know something's wrong. Right?
So you're saying that they have a grasp
there's an innate feeling
that pulled them out to say, no, I don't want to completely enter there because
I don't feel happy.
It's a heroin for me.
I do this and I don't feel happy. Right. I'm done and I just don't feel so good. Right? They'll do it, but eventually they'll just kind of go, this isn't making me feel good. I don't feel good doing this.
So you think the complete step will never happen?
I wouldn't say
metaverse.
Never. I wouldn't say never, and the reason why I wouldn't say never is because you have to realize that we as a society have to decide we don't want that, or it'll become what it is. Right? It's kind of like those CAPTCHA things. I recently learned something interesting about that. Google bought CAPTCHA, right, and actually was using that. They were having you train their AI model.
Wow.
That whole time, you had to do it. You were required to use CAPTCHA. You had no other choice, and you were actually training their AI model. Okay? There's nothing that says that if they all get together and decide, the metaverse is the thing to be, that we won't have to be in the metaverse. Right? Like I was listening to 60 Minutes. Christopher Nolan was talking about how he doesn't have a cell phone and he's not online, and it's clear that he very much prides himself on not being connected. Right? Whatever, personal opinion, I don't get it, right? I don't understand it. I don't know how he functions in that world. It's because he has people that do it for him. That's why.
Obviously.
He's wealthy enough to have another person do it for him. I wouldn't say never, but I know the reason why it failed the first time was because people came down from the high and went, this doesn't feel good. Right? It's like Ready Player One, you know, great story, fantastic movie, wonderful book, so creative. But we all kind of recognize that that world really wouldn't be that good for us. We don't really know what the alternative is, yet it could become that. If we need to decide it's not good. We need to say enough is enough. We have to wake up. We have to wake up, Leo. That's what it is. This is what you're doing. Everybody needs to listen and understand that we have to wake up and say, no, I don't want that. I don't want the world for that. I don't want that for my children. I don't want that for myself. I don't want that for that guy over there.
I think you're so right. And
too many people have walked this earth thinking only of themselves and not believing that they could do anything for the other person. The biggest villains of the world are not making the difference that you think they are. The people that are making the difference are everybody in the middle who says, I can't do anything. I'm powerless. This is just how it's going to be. I have to get used to it. They couldn't do anything without all of us. And we have the strength and the power to change the world, to make it what we want it to be. And this fits right in with your optimism. See, I consider myself a realist, meaning that I look at it, and I used to be very pessimistic, actually. When I was a little kid, I was very optimistic. I had some really traumatic experiences that really broke me as a person. And I struggled for a really long time with this really deep pessimism. And the best I can get back to right now is realist, right? Have yet to figure out how to be optimistic all the way.
You did a step at least.
I got a little bit further down the road, but we need to wake up and realize that it's our power. They do it on our permission. The rules of the system only exist because we all agree that they do. The contract of humanity, the contract of community, the contract of neighborhoods and society is the connection that we allow it to be.
And how do we wake up, though? How do we wake up on this? How do we force?
Yeah, that's a big question. I think it's different for everybody, but I think it's as simple as just being that person. Hear my voice, saying it, and go out and do it. Let it spread like wildfire. This is not a difficult message to share with other people.
I know.
This is not a difficult message to share. Hey, I don't think we should... let's go do something together. Let's get out and do something.
And I ask you this because I asked the same question so many times. How do we wake up? I mean, I know how I wake up, but how do other people wake up? How are our community wake up on something like this? Because, for example, there are so many things that bother me right now.
Sure.
And one of these that is ridiculous right now in our society is this insanely fashionable way growing of OnlyFans.
Oh, yeah. Gosh.
It drives me
it's a disease
nuts. But now also for the girls that decide, okay, you know what, I give up all these stupid jobs, I'm gonna do OnlyFans, I'm gonna do millions. And I always think about who in the world is using OnlyFans and why.
Yeah.
And then of all the research that I did, the only solution is that people that feel lonely.
Yeah.
Because otherwise there's no really reason. I mean,
they're searching for admiration.
I got it, but there is infinity porno videos in online.
Well, it's rule 34 of the internet, right? If it exists, there's porn of it.
Absolutely. It's true. Yes, you can search whatever combination of your desire is about porno. So why OnlyFans? I mean, it's free. Why do you bother to pay?
They feel self-empowered, right?
Because they're lonely.
They're lonely and they want to feel connected, and it's a plight. And again, it's another one of these bait and switches. OnlyFans is making money on these girls.
So much.
They are taking advantage of these young girls, and they're telling them the story. Of a society,
of community, of everything. How do you stop it? How do you stop this?
You tell these young women and young men that they don't have to denigrate themselves to feel connected. I mean, look, pornography is a blight. I understand people are entitled to use it, and there are plenty of women who feel very empowered from, selling themselves in that way. However, I would say that the consequences of participating in it are much broader and bigger than they realize. Yeah, you can make a lot of money from doing it. And I think there was one, I can't remember what her name was.
But what about the sense of community? Because the sense of community is attached to that as well.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Can you be part of a community if you're doing something like that? And how can you be part? And
well, I mean, of course, you can be whatever you want.
Of course.
You can be a part of a community and be a mattress actress, if you want to call it that. And there are plenty that create communities, but it will never be a trade-off.
Believe me,
I'm not genuine community.
I'm not judging that you're doing that. You can do whatever you want. Absolutely. It's a free world, and I don't judge anybody.
Yeah, the most basic thing that we ever have as human beings is freedom of choice.
Absolutely. Right? I don't judge anybody, and I am happy to be friends with everybody. 100%. Actually, I'm curious why things happen.
Undoubtedly. Let me just say this. You are, without a doubt, one of the most open-minded people I've ever met in my life.
Absolutely.
So I don't question that.
My question is, why is happening? That's my question. Why is happening? Porno is free. Why do you need to pay that much to connect with a person? How lonely are you?
Let's get tactical for a second. Let's put on marketing lens for a second, okay? I think that there is a business decision that's happening that kids are making.
That's exactly what I need. The marketing
perspective on it. So
please.
I think that we live in a world where society is increasingly transactional.
Okay.
And we also live in a world where young people feel more powerless than ever before in terms of economic opportunity.
Right.
Right. I don't think there's I've not met a 16-year-old, and this is sad to say, I've not met a 16-year-old who said they were excited to go to college. And I'm not saying college is the solution. I'm saying
college is the best time of my life, and the United States are beautiful college.
I loved my time in college. I had a lot of fun in college.
Yeah, it's the best time.
But whatever it is, trade school, traveling. Why aren't there more kids saying, you know what, I want to go backpacking around Europe?
Yeah, so much fun. Right? I really recommend it.
And you've traveled all over the world. I mean, you went and did Asia. You did all of that. They're just saying it isn't like I don't have the money to do that. I don't have the opportunity to do that. There is not going to be a future. AI is going to take all my jobs. Trump is going to destroy the world. Nuclear holocaust is going to happen. World War III and the world is over.
And still, you wake up every single day. None of this happening.
Doomeristic perspective is what's causing it. So these kids believe I have no future. So there's no consequences to me selling myself on the internet. And the benefits of selling myself on the internet are I get paid a lot of money. One of these girls I was thinking of, I think it's Sophie Rain or something, one of these girls, trendy girl, whatever. She went on a podcast, and I remember hearing a clip of it where she talked about that she was actually a virgin. She'd never done anything sexual in nature. She created an OnlyFans, didn't sell anything, but made like $14 million in a week.
Well, I don't know
because men.
I don't know if this number. I don't know if this number are true.
But the reality is,
my question is, if somebody is very popular on these OnlyFans, right?
Yeah.
You obviously know that when you are asking questions and chatting, it's not her in the other side to answer. No. She cannot answer to 1,000, not million, of course, but not even hundreds of thousands, not even thousands, not even hundreds. So obviously, it's some kind of other people paid for it or an AI.
Yeah.
So why you're still doing it.
Yeah. They're doing it because they are looking for something that they think that they can't get another place. We've created a society and I seriously believe this is a marketing perspective. I believe that we've created a world that children and young adults, young men, young women believe there is no future. And because there's no future, I don't have opportunity to have that, right? I mean, you look at marriage rates, you look at even relational rates, and I'm not advocating for crazy sex parties, and I'm not advocating for all this kind of crap. But I am going to say, like, the number of kids that report having an interaction with somebody of the opposite sex, or having had sex, or connecting with another person in any of those ways, lower than it's ever been before. And is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. I mean, I'm obviously from a religious perspective, I don't mind seeing kids being more careful about that. However, it does represent a loss.
Yeah, and it's shocking. For me, it's shocking.
It is.
Because today the technology help you to do that much.
I remember one of my best friends growing up did not want to get his driver's license. Why? Just don't need to.
Yeah, I have a driver.
I wanted
in the United States without driver license. What can you do?
From the day I could think about it.
Same here. Right. Same here. Counting the day.
Engines. I mean, you showed me all these cars and stuff that you just love, that you're chasing and rebuilding that little scooter and everything.
Absolutely.
So I think to answer your question point blank and directly, without any of the fluff, right? They don't believe there is a future because we've stolen it. And we've sold them the perspective that it doesn't matter anyway.
Wow.
These companies had to convince these kids that there was no future so that they could market and make money off of them. And they robbed us of community. They stole that from us to make money. That's what happened, Leo. And because that happened, these kids don't believe they have a future. They don't believe that they can take a traditional path and make it. And if they had all the money in the world, they could have whatever they wanted. And if they could have whatever they wanted, they would be happy.
Yeah, that doesn't work that way.
It doesn't. You and I know the truth, and that's what we're talking about today. We're 1,000%. Talking about that community. We're talking about the reality that what made previous generations connected and happy and peaceful was having your neighbor and your friends and your community, going to the coffee shop. My grandfather would go to the coffee shop every day. When he died, they put up a plaque on the wall with his name in honor of Garth Parkinson over his booth.
I love it.
And they held a little memorial for him because he was there every day with his little mafia of guys from the neighborhood. Every day they were there drinking their coffee and hanging out.
That's I love it so much.
And we know that that's the thing that saved them. That's what saved my grandfather, was that community of men.
Unbelievable.
Was he perfect? No. My grandfather was a chain smoker.
Nobody's perfect.
Angry father, and he had all the problems that he had, the past generation had. And I think that's the other thing I want to make sure that the listeners hear. If there are young people listening to this, I'm not sharing this with them or saying this to them to say you failed. We've failed. We failed you, and I'm sorry that my generation and the generation above me have failed to create societies that enable you to have connections with other people.
I agree.
You've never felt that before.
But I'm happy that we spend this time to do this podcast and we align with my idea that unconditional love will help even the community to be rebuilt. Yeah. So unconditional love, again, we use a podcast and more than an hour to, I hope,
more than 2 hours at this point.
I hope to let you align with this idea that unconditional love is even the solution for the community. And we understood this. Now, my last question is for you.
Hit me.
If you could give one message to people who feel alone and disconnected from societies, from these communities, what you tell them about the importance of finding and build a community?
Well, first off, I want to say that I'm like you. I'm not magically immune to feeling alone. I think it was last night that I broke down. I was sobbing. I felt like a failure as a man and a failure as a son and as caretaker for my parents. If there was one message I would share, is that you are not alone and you don't have to be alone. When I shared that with my parents, the feelings that I had, my elderly father, who has dementia, stood up from his chair, walked over, and made me stand up, and he held me. And we cried in each other's arms.
Man.
My mom came over, did the same thing. When we create community with each other, when we open up and we share the vulnerable sides of ourselves with other people, and we help with unconditional love, we're never alone. We never are alone. The summary I would give is that we all want community. The pain we feel is from a lack of community. We can be the change in the community, and all we have to do is unconditional love. You just have to practice it. So if you're out there, let me be a voice to you that just because you feel alone and you feel dark and sometimes it feels like there's no point in continuing to go and pressing forward, that there is something out there for you Open your heart to the other people in your life. Be honest. Share your feelings. Do not hold them inside. Show your side that's vulnerable. Be yourself, and the world is your oyster. It isn't easy. You know, I would never say that it was an easy thing to admit to my parents the way that I felt. You know, and those are the people that are the closest for me in my community. But the same thing was true with our group when we were working all together. But yeah, I think I would share that. I would tell them, you're not alone. I know a lot of people say it. I've felt it for years. I've felt alone and in a darkness. And losing my cousin in particular really made me feel really isolated, because he was just that person. Everybody has that person, you know. Send you the text, says, hey, what's going on, man? How you doing? Knows everything that's going on in my world.
And really to try to find that real connection. That real connection.
Be the real connection. That's the lesson he gave me. In his death, the lesson that he gave me was, I could do that. I could do that. That's why I'm here right now. This conversation would have been very different if we'd done it when we wanted to do it, by the way.
That's right.
It happened now the way that it is for a reason. Because my mind finally opened up to the reality that I could be the kindness that he was for me. I could be the love that he gave me. I could be for others. I could just ask the stranger, hey man, how's it going? How you doing? What's going on? It isn't about being an extrovert. It's not about doing that. It's just about loving and caring.
Be that connection. Be that connection. Give me a hug.
I love you, man. Give me a hug.
Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure, man.
That was awesome.
My pleasure.
Oh. Woof. All right.
It's always good, huh?
Yes. And we arrive at the end of the podcast. I always do this. This was a good one. I really like it and enjoy. Now I want to give you a present. So a memory that you've been here.
Oh gosh.
That you can grab with yourself. I 3D print this glove. So,
okay.
And we put our signature. It's just symbolic, the date, and you can have it.
I love it.
You can put it whatever you want in the bathroom if you like it, or
in the bathroom,
or your living room, or
I know right where it's going, right on my mantle.
And this is very important for me because it's like a real gift that you will see it in your desk or somewhere, and you will think about this date. So I'm gonna put my ugly signature and whatever, and you're gonna put yours and the date, and this is yours.
All right, let's do it.
And it's something physical that I hope is a memory of.
Oh, I love it.
Of these 2 hours spent together.
There you go.
Right.
I love it.
And this is yours. And again, thank you for this.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful podcast that it was very important for me to do, and I'm glad you come. And
the honor is all mine, Leo.
We did it.
Seriously, genuinely. I hope that you'll have me back if you want.
Yes. Yes, please.
I love you. I love everything that you're doing here, and just thank you so much for having me. Honestly, it's the honor of my life to be here and to help participate.
Oh, please. Thank you so much to be here.
Thank you.
And thank you guys to listening, and please go out and go build a community. Good night, everybody.
Ciao.